Hi, and welcome to my 1 month coding progression. So, to recap, last time I was talking about generative AI, and I started learning how to program. And I want to share with you what I've been doing, how I've started, some of the tips and tricks that I learned from some people. And if you're thinking of starting coding, then maybe this might be what your month might look like. So first and foremost, what did I end up doing? I ended up creating my own personal website that had an About Me page, a home page, a portfolio, and a Contact Me page, which I can show you here in VS Code. This is what it looks like. I have an index, which is practically just like where's the hub, and then some other side pieces, and then you can see the CS code. But this, I also put on my Notion, you were a coder, so that I remember every single time I'm a coder and I don't forget to code. Dun 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 dun! This is my website. It has my catchphrase, welcome to my corner of the world, which I use on Twitch. I have like this little scroll down feature and a little picture of me and my katana. This is just for I don't know, modeling agencies, or just, I don't know, general, information about me. Then on the left side here, I just added like a little paragraph about me, and I wanted to keep in the theme of the Asian inspired sort of thingy going on here, so I wrote it like close together so that it mimicked how Japanese text is written from top to bottom instead of left to right. I also, as you can see, have a JavaScript cursor in a circle here. But yeah, so I coded this page. I used HTML and CSS. So, instead of our numbers, there should be something different there. But what did I learn? So I learned how to use ChatGPT and use like ChatGPT prompt engineering. So I learned how to ask the right questions. I learned HTML basis, I learned CSS for styling, JavaScript for moving parts, and code editors like VS Code and how to use it. Because, you have to learn how to use the code editors and know what's what and what to click. So first thing that I learned, ChatGPT and prompt engineering. In using ChatGPT, I learned how to ask the AI questions. I understood that utilizing ChatGPT only took me so far, and my experience with it greatly enhanced the more I played around with it myself in VS Code and tested if then statements like a scientist. So, what is prompt engineering? Here I have some common frameworks. Prompt engineering is utilizing, because engineering is problem solving. So prompt engineering is outsourcing, the problem to something like an AI. And I was using and testing these 5 different types of frameworks, which is RTF, TAG, BAB, CARE, CARE and RISE. And you can see it here. You can check it out later if you want. But these common frameworks really help me understand how to use ChatGPT better, because in my opinion, ChatGPT is not going anywhere. I think many people think the same way. I think contrary, a lot of people are aware of the fact that you're going to have to start being able to utilize it, or it's going to utilize you. So here are some common frameworks. You can study that, learn that if you're interested. But yeah, I learned how to use ChatGPT to teach me code. So when I didn't understand something, I would ask ChatGPT to explain it to me. And also when it came to complex, like figuring out different things that I wanted to do in the code. For example, the cursor that I have, added here at the bottom. I asked ChatGPT to make that for me, and then I asked ChatGPT to explain it for me so that I'd be able to understand it and do it myself. But without ChatGPT, I wouldn't have been able to do it. What was fascinating was that it reacts to pressure, which is a bit scary. So it reacted to pressure, me angrily typing wrong, because I was typing, saying like, okay, chat, make me this code doing this thing, and then put the image over it or put the text over it. and it kept getting it wrong until I was just like, wrong, you're doing it wrong, like be better. And then it did it better and it made it work. So it was very interesting, made me give it a name and work with it like a good employee. Yeah, I wrote that down into the presentation because that was a little scary. But now my ChatGPT is called Chari, and I treat it with great respect every single time I say thank you, because the fact that it reacted like a human to emotions was very fascinating to me. But alas, second thing I learned, code editors. What is a code editor? It's what you write your code in. It takes the code, and then usually when it comes to something like VS Code, you can use a live server or something to be able to see what the front end will look like once you code it. So there's a bunch of videos that you can check out to understand what code editor is best for you. I was trying out GitHub Codespaces and Atom, but personally, I know they look the same. If you don't know anything about code, they look the exact same. They're very different. And I like just being able to install any extensions I want on VS Code. So VS Code is my personal preference. And yeah, I learned how to use them, how to use the interface. Then HTML, main takeaways. So if you're thinking of starting to learn how to code, I recommend you start learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's the basics. And what video I followed was this video down here, which is how to make a portfolio website using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's very intuitive to sort of look, listen, try and do it yourself, and then use ChatGPT to help you out with making the changes and being able to do it yourself and making the website look exactly the way you want it. Because as you can see here, Kevin has it a bit different from the way I do, because I wanted to be a little bit more artsy. I also wanted to add like the specific elements that I wanted. And I think that's a good idea, is to follow a tutorial, but then make changes yourself, because that's where the learning comes in. So main takeaways: use exclamation point to start any project in VS Code at least. I got really close with the two closing tags, or opening tag and closing tag. Whenever you're looking through code and you see the good thing about VS Code is it will show you like a red line that there's an error. I always check if there's the closing tags are well closed off and whatnot. Then knowing the difference between a colon and a semicolon. They're not the same, especially in code. So one, gives an attribute to something and the other closes off the attribute. So getting close with those. I also set up my keyboard, which is fascinating for me because I have a Czech and a English keyboard. And when you're typing, you have the closing tags and the semicolons and everything in different places in the different keyboard. So I just picked a default keyboard and set it up in a way that would be most useful to me. I also utilized testing live servers. So you can do that in VS Code. I'm not sure if you can do that in anything else, but I think that's very, very useful. So next thing, I learned how to do CSS. What is CSS? It's practically just stylizing HTML. So HTML, let's say you can put a text saying, hi, my name's Kimie. And CSS can put it to the left side of the page, to the right side of the page, make it bigger, smaller, flip it around, make it pink. CSS is just doing stuff visually to some base core stuff that the HTML puts there. So I got comfortable with long lists of color recognition. So when you're going through the CSS file, if you look here, you have a lot of these, you have this opening sort of tag, I think, and then you always have to add the attributes. So I got very comfortable with these long lists. Then I got comfortable with things like align item, center, left, right. So if you see here, you have a container, which is practically, if you see here on this cheat sheet, what's the content, then you can put the content in a container, and then whatever you put you know, the attribute to that container. So let's say position absolute, that means that it's in one place. Or text align center, so the content inside that container is going to be in the center of the container. You have to get very comfortable with these sorts of attributes. Also things like display, margins, the difference between 50% and 50px, and so forth. It's honestly intuitive once you get into it. I also like the fact that CSS is very intuitive, you know? Like if you have text align center, you know, it's in the center. If you have background size cover, you know, it's going to cover the whole background. Or like font size 10 pixels, you know, it's going to be like petite. And there are some things like margin. You have to learn what's the margin if you're not English or American. Or things like position absolute. Those are a bit harder. They're less intuitive, but there's a bunch of videos that you can just watch in 5 minutes and literally be able to learn in 5 minutes, or ask ChatGPT, which I did. Next thing, main takeaways. So, what are my main takeaways from this month of coding? I learned how to create a static front-end website and to be able to do it with ease. I know how to make like 50 of these websites. This is fairly easy. What I also did learn is not just static part. I learned how to, okay, like this, I just opened up the home page again. But for example, here's my about page. I learned how to utilize Google Fonts to be able to put special fonts onto my text, which I really wanted to do, which I was super proud of because that took me a while. How to interconnect CSS and JS files to my HTML hub, which is practically just this little part up here, which says link rel style sheet style CSS, which practically means that every single time you make a CSS file, you have to link it, or a GS file or a Python file. If you want them to be on one same front end, you need to link them all together. I always forgot to do that when I was starting off, so I learned that. And I learned how to ask ChatGPT enough times to get the desired outcome, or the limits of ChatGPT. So for example, the fact that it can't display it, you know, like if I asked ChatGPT, display what my code would probably look like if I did so and so. So I know the limits, but I figured out also how to ask it enough times to get my desired outcome. What are my next month's goals? So I would like to learn how to add a database and user info input to my website. I want to experiment with Arduino, which is like this little box that makes things like in real life, so like you can have it light up a little light on its own, but in real life. So I'd really like to experiment with that. I think that'd be a fun coding project. And I'd like to figure out how to finally use GitHub. I tried. I still don't get it because it's not like a social media, but it like kind of is. Not really. I still need to figure that out. And then I'd like to dip my toes into more JavaScript features. Okay, my iPhone just told me that I don't have any more storage, so I'll keep it very brief. These are my goals. I think it wasn't that hard to do, and I think if you keep reminding yourself that this is a goal that you want to achieve, I'm sure that each and every one of you, whoever you are wanting to, you know, try out coding, I just recommend use ChatGPT. It's gonna be here with us. It's not going anywhere, and you're gonna be left behind if you don't utilize its features. Use ChatGPT, ask it things like, how do I start coding? What do I do? And it will help you out. And secondly, just watch a lot of tutorials, or not tutorials, watch a lot of informational videos, and only watch tutorials when you're following along, and make changes for your own self. So try veering a bit from the tutorial and seeing where that will get you. Either way, thank you so much for watching today's sort of update on my coding journey, and I will hopefully see y'all next month and be able to discuss what I learned. Thank you. Bye!